So here's the first thing that I hear This is the first thing that I hear Christians say that I don't agree with, and I wish they wouldn't say it, and it bothers me, and I just want to give us some better thoughts on it. So here we are, we're in this quarantine time, and the church can't meet, and I'm sure it's because people want to make us feel better about the fact that we're not meeting, and so they'll say something like, well, it's all right. We don't have to meet because the church is people, and it's not about a building. And I want to scream. Yeah. And not to say that, yes, church is a building, but that statement is not fully correct.
Or
no. The intent of the way it's mostly often said.
And if you've said that, I'm not disparaging you. I think people don't understand what they're saying when they say that, or the implications of what they're saying.
Because the one that I've seen that I think has been the most, I will say, most incorrect, has been when people post one where, and it's like a little cartoon graphic where someone says, Satan's going to shut down all the churches, and God says, I'm going to open one in every home.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that's a little more incorrect, because at the heart of it, like you're saying, there is a truth to church is the people and it's not the building.
Yes.
But the idea that you and your family in your home, just you together, are the church, that is not the correct idea that we have to fully get.
Unless.
And that's what we got to get to.
We could, if you want to have church in your home, and there are places all over the world where there are churches in their home, you should begin actively praying that God would bring other believers together with you so you can form a fellowship for the purpose of you two couples or Christians now reaching other people who could join your fellowship.
Yes.
So you could baptize them into your church, and you could take communion in that place, and you all could begin to do works of service to your community in the name of Jesus. Now we get in some church.
Now we got us a church.
But me just personally living out the call of Jesus on my life, I am a part of the church.
I'm a body part.
And my family, even though now there are how many there
16.
are? 16 of us.
He's cutting 2 out.
Yeah, I don't want to cut anybody out. I like them all.
Oh, you mean your nuclear family.
My personal big family.
Got it.
All of us together. We're bigger than some churches I preached at.
Yeah.
I have preached at churches that were under 20 easily. And we aren't a church.
No.
Right.
We're just a family because we aren't actively inviting more people to come in the name of Jesus to be a part of. But you're going to join the Martin Church.
Well, and
that isn't what we do.
No, thank you.
Nobody wants to join that church.
A lot of arguing and opinions.
Yes.
Being shared.
Okay.
Well, and ultimately, the call that's been put on the church, because it's the call that was put on to disciples of Jesus, was go and make disciples.
Yes.
Go and make disciples. And by the nature of me gathering just with my family in my home, there's not a lot of going happening. There might be a little bit of making, but not in combination with the going and the making. The making was not separate from the going. The idea was that I would go into the world, and like you said, that I would be trying to reach people and trying to make disciples of them, and that together that there's this nature of we're teaching one another, and that there's a growing. And this is one thing I have always loved about Community Christian, is that not all of us are lovable, and there's a nature to the church which is, and this is true whenever you read the New Testament letters, most of the stuff that he's talking about is you now got all these unlovable people together as brothers and sisters, and those commands to forgive one another and bear with one another, yes, they are applicable to every person. We say love everyone always. But initially, when he's writing a command to forgive one another, he's talking about you two in the church that are fighting, y'all got to forgive one another. And that's how we grow as followers of Jesus, to then go and do that for other people.
The thing you're talking about, being in church is a good place. We should be diverse, and there are people that I wouldn't naturally be with.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite old Dallas. We quote Dallas. Here's my Dallas quote for today. Dallas would often be asked because, Dallas was spiritually mature and teaching everybody else, and he was very committed to the local church. He was a local church guy. And people would say, Dallas, why do you go to church? And he'd say, well, if for no other reason, Jesus said, love your enemies, and that's a good place to find someone.
Yeah, boy.
It's perfect. If you don't read Dallas, that is such a Dallas quote.
And he would say it with that deadpan thing,
Yes.
not with any humor. He would say, it's a really good place for you to find an enemy or two is at church.
Yes.
And that's what I mean is obviously in our families there are people that are unlovable and hard to love. But by the nature of just even biologically in something within us, we're a little easier to try and work those things out, and that's really what God is trying to do through the church is create this new family of, you wouldn't be my brother and you wouldn't be my sister, but we got to work this thing out not only because Jesus told us to, but we got a mission to do, and we got to do this together, and that's what bonds us together, and so. Yes, the church is a people. That is true. But it is this gathering, and I know lots of churches that refer to it as there's a Sunday morning gathering so that we can scatter. There's a gathering and there's the gathered church and the scattered church. That there is a scattering where we go out into our personal worlds and we are representatives of Jesus' church and we are representatives of Jesus. But it is for the purposes that you have talked about of I'm serving for the sake of advancing this gospel or this good news of the kingdom that God is at work in the world.
That reminds me of some churches that I was a part of when I was a kid, and they would have written above the door as you exited the building, you are now entering the mission field.
Right, that's right.
That's great.
Or something along those
sure.
lines.
I went to a church that had that too.
Yeah, and you saw that every Sunday as you walked out the door, and it was to give us this sense of, we came together and we gathered together, and that was good. But now this is when the real ball game starts. We're going about in the world doing the work of the church that was given to us by our leader Jesus, and so we go out and function, and we'll be back. We'll be back together soon. But we're out there doing what he gave us to do as our mission.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me, these statements, and it really is, it's currently in the time, I'm having a very difficult time these days with things that Christians, and I'm going to assume everybody's meaning well with it, but because of what we're being asked to do, they then want to give a reason of how it fits in theologically or what God ultimately wanted. And I would say we all are having to do this, but let's don't put God's name to it.
Yeah.
I mean, or to say this theologically now fits better, because I think I told you all, I was on something with a guy, and he said what I hear lots of churches now saying, we're reaching more people than we ever did because we have all these viewers, that are watching. And I said to him, I guess that means when this is all over, you're going to sell your building and just keep doing this. Because theologically, if you believe you're reaching more people, why would you stop doing it?
That's right.
Right.
And he said, well, we're not going to do that. And I wanted to say, so you don't really believe what you just said.
Yeah.
And I think
it's something you say to convince yourself what we're doing is what has to happen.
And I think to get us, back to like a thought that you can kind of take out of this is if you're starting to think, well, then, am I even a part of the church now based on what you guys are saying? Absolutely you are, in the sense that it's just not you and your family are not the church. You're still a part of Community Christian, and you join in with us, hopefully, on Sunday mornings, and you're doing a part of this. And we hope that you're a part in other people's lives by being connected in a small group. And we talk about this all the time. If you're not, please, there's a card called Connect. On our website, we do that. We hope you guys will, this is our discipleship group mentioned, that you'd be involved in a discipleship group where you'd be growing in that. And then obviously, when you're talking to people, that you would be personally sharing God's love with people, and also hopefully inviting them either to join in on that service, or invite them to join in with your small group, or invite them just into a conversation where you can talk about Jesus. In those ways, you are doing the work of the church, and you are involved with us. But I think at our heart, what we really want to make clear for all of us is that we get clear of what it means to be the church, because it is such a it is the joy of my life here that we get to join together and that we get to be brothers and sisters, because it really is what Jesus modeled. I mean, Jesus could have come to earth, not gotten any disciples, walked around, done everything he needed to do by himself, but he was modeling for us. He brings all these disciples who none of them would have ever been friends with one another, ever done this. He sends them out to go and get other people and sends them out on these missions to spread the gospel. And then he sends them off to go and do what he modeled for them. And it's a blessing that we get to be a part of.
Well, and I've said this to some people too, and basically what we're forced into in this season is it feels this way, that we're just being content providers.
Sure.
We're just putting out a product to watch on an internet stream, and if that's all, my thing is I don't believe that's what Jesus was talking about when he said, "Go and make disciples, baptize them, and teach them to follow me." So for us to say, "Oh, it's all good. We're right here in our home, and we're the church, and we're watching, and we're doing that." Yes, that's fine for now. But let's be honest. That is not the mission that we were given to by Jesus. So, he did not come. He said, "I'm gonna build my content creation system that will broadcast out a few sermons every week." That's not the church.
Well, and I think right now I've had to defend some people who are really missing church. They're they're missing the fellowship, and somebody in their world will say to them, it's not the building. Why are you so in love with the building? I wasn't talking about the building. No. That's what I wound up saying to somebody. Just say to them, "You're right. It's not the building. I wasn't talking about the building." But the church is a people, and I miss the people.
Yes.
The people, we are a part of each other. I mean, I think of it about, I have a friend that goes to community Christian, just recently had to have his leg amputated. And he already talks about phantom missing his limb, and it still feels like it's there, but he knows it's not there.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel on Sunday now when we're there, and I'm
great.
sitting in the digital foyer, and I'm saying names, and I can visualize the name, but we're not together.
No.
Not in the same way, and I miss it. I miss the people. I just miss the people.
Yeah.
Well, and
some of them that I'm not even exceptionally close to, but I miss us.
Yeah.
I miss what we are together.
Well, and the thing that everyone I think can understand, because I certainly feel this, of like with distant relatives, and when I say distant, I mean people that you have to be socially distanced from at this point, grandparents or anything that you're calling on the phone and you're being with. Everyone understands, hey, it is a blessing that we have Skype or we have FaceTime. That is a blessing that now we have this other way of contact. But I don't believe anybody would say, and when this is over, I'm never going to be physically with my grandma again, because we understand it's better than it could be, but it's still lesser than it should be. It's lesser than us being physically together, and I think that's the nature of what the church really is. And so, anyway, I love the phantom limb analogy is great because I never thought of it that way, but it feels like, oh yeah, this is similar, but it's not.
I'm glad. I mean, and for that guy, he had to have it removed. He understands why it happened. I understand why we're in the situation.
I do too.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be this way.
That's right.
I'm not trying to say that. I'm just expressing to you, this isn't the way it was meant to be, and nobody would look at that guy and say, you're better off with just one leg.
Right.
That's the way it was meant to be. No, that's not true.
No.
That's right.
Did it have to happen? Yeah, it had to happen, but it's not better.
No.
Yep.